Our next speaker is Ed Shaw, and he's going to talk about the Memory Counseling Clinic.
Sorry you had to leap off the stage. I hope that was good for your bone mineral density. Good morning, and it's great to be here. Tell you about a program that we have at Wake Forest Baptist Health called the Memory Counseling Program. So we established the program in 2011 for individuals diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease or another form of dementia and their family care partners to deal with the mental health and other challenges that occur on the journey that the family has. So we have 4 elements to the core mission of our program, just based on the needs that we've seen helping hundreds of families over the years. So the first thing is we help people decompress. We give them bandwidth, if you will, to talk about the experience of being a dementia caregiver. Clearly the biggest need that people have who are on the journey. The next thing we focus on is education. We feel like people understanding what's happening to the brain, what it should be doing and what it isn't doing, helps empower them to be caregivers on the journey. So here's a really simple example of one of the things we do in terms of education. Probably a great frustration for dementia caregivers is that their loved one repeats questions. They may ask the same question multiple times in a short period of time. So when we do education, we talk about the brain and the temporal lobe and the hippocampus. That's the memory part of the brain. And we say that it's not that a person who has cognitive impairment or dementia won't remember. It's not that they're choosing to not remember. It's that they can't remember. They don't have the ability to do it. And sometimes that simple recognition, that simple fact, can be incredibly helpful for a caregiver who may get frustrated very easily. We do lots of problem solving for all the things that occur during the journey, and then we help with relationship building to really empower the family to help their loved one on this journey. So here's what we do. Our program is divided into halves, more or less. So on the left half, we do individual counseling. We do counseling both for the person who has early stage Alzheimer's disease or mild cognitive impairment. Primarily when we do individual counseling, we're working with the primary care partner, either the spouse or the adult children, but maybe others as well. We do a lot of couples counseling. Typically, we're a senior couple. We'll have one member who's developed memory loss or maybe a diagnosis of dementia, but it changes them individually, but it also changes their couple identity. And so we work with lots of couples and then family counseling. And we try and work with each family that we work with, we try and have family meetings to talk about the broad range of issues that occur. So we use lots of different counseling modalities, and they're listed here, but most important is so-called talk therapy. The other half of our group is our support group program, and we have lots of support groups that are featured during the year. Our main support group is our caregiver support group, care partner support group. That's for individuals who have a loved one who are on the journey, and they meet other caregivers, primarily to learn that they're not on their own, that what they're experiencing is being experienced by others. We've done groups since 2011, and we still have members of our very first group that get together on a regular basis. We have a group for couples where one person in the couple has mild cognitive impairment, sort of pre-Alzheimer's disease, or they have early stage Alzheimer's disease, and they come together. We've even had families come to this group where they can together do education and problem solving for the issues that they encounter. We've started having some groups for less common dementias. We have a frontotemporal dementia support group, and we'll be adding a Lewy body dementia support group for these less common forms of dementia that look very, very different than Alzheimer's disease. All forms of dementia are not created equal. This is a book that I was honored to co-author with Dr. Gary Chapman, who's the 5 love language guy. You may recognize the title of his classic book, and Debbie Barr, who worked in our counseling center. And the book describes a couple of things. One is it describes my late wife's journey with early onset Alzheimer's disease at the age of 53. But it also talks about how to keep the love alive in a relationship, to be able to maintain relational intimacy with someone whose cognitive abilities are declining over time. Their ability to express love to their loved ones is decreasing over time. And yet you can, as a care partner, facilitate that love bond. And it requires extra work by the care partner. And this book is in the bookstore that's here. Our support programs, we have sort of a bachelor's degree and then we have advanced degrees. So we offer an 8 to 10 week support group for a group of 8 to 16 participants. So the group is closed to that group over the 8 to 10 weeks. And every week we talk about a different topic, and people get to know one another over time. So we have the decompression focus and the education focus. We talk about a whole variety of topics, everything from frustrations with repetitive questions to even some of the legal and medical issues that are commonly encountered. And then once the person is done, they go on to their sort of continuing education, where they come back on a monthly basis for a maintenance group. So they always have somebody around that can listen to them on the journey. My staff are sitting in the back of the room. If you want to chat with them, would you guys raise your hand, please? They're plastered against the window, soaking up the sunlight. And we'd be glad to tell you more about the program. But have a wonderful group of people who together are part of our program, social workers and counselors primarily. Referral and assessment, most of our referrals come from the Dementia Diagnosis Clinic at Wake Forest. However, we see patients who are from the referral, from the community, and also from the region. We see the person who has the disease and their family care partners. So we evaluate everybody because the journey affects everybody, and we want to understand where they are. It's hard to see the thing at the bottom of the slide, but nominally we see people at the sort of 4 pressure points of the continuum. At diagnosis, when the person is losing their independence for more basic activities, when they're losing independence for things like eating and toileting, and then end-of-life issues. So those tend to be the pressure points, but we see people all the way across the journey. So here's our monthly volumes. The numbers are not as important as to say we're a very busy program. When we started in 2011, there were 2 of us working a half a day a week each. Now we're at 5, and the need we're always at capacity. So that's a brief overview of the program, and I'd be glad to take questions. I didn't get Dr. Kim Shapiro's time sign. That's very good because that's very stressful.
Hi, I'm dealing with a mom who has dementia. I've helped take care of both her sisters. She's out of state, and I'm wondering if this program can be implemented to another state, possibly through your knowledge, expanding it. And are you looking for volunteers, since I have helped 2 aunts who had it. Sense of humor is important, and I know self-care is as well. And I know that the caregivers need breaks.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for that question. The program is one that could be replicated in other communities. Sadly, while there are many communities that have awesome medical care for a person with dementia, there isn't usually the psychosocial, emotional, and spiritual support that is needed by people who are on the journey. And so our program, for instance, about half of what we do is fee for service, but half of what we do, we don't charge for. We don't charge for our groups. And then there are people who, say, are on the journey with dementia who don't qualify for typical psychotherapy because they can't technically participate, but they need the decompressive time. Somebody who has Alzheimer's disease can benefit from decompression all the way through the middle, even into the late stages of the journey. And yet that's not recognized by insurance as being appropriate for psychotherapy. So we raise money. You know, dementia is an equal opportunity disease, and our development officer is in the back with the rest of the team. And we've raised, you know, anywhere from $10 to $1 million to support this kind of effort. So if it went to other communities, it would have to be supported part by philanthropy and part by typical fee for service. So you can offer the free for service. And so we've published and present about our model, and hopefully it will be picked up by other communities. And maybe you can touch base with me afterward, and we can talk about volunteer opportunities.